This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
Well, Mike Tomlin had a press conference today, and as he said, he'd spoken to Russell Wilson earlier in the day, and Russell's feeling better, but Mike Tomlin says, at this point, we're sticking with Justin Fields right now as our quarterback. We don't know what the situation is with Russell Wilson, whether he's going to be available or not this week. So the plan is get Justin Fields ready to play. See if that ends up being the case by the time the Steelers get to us Sunday in Denver, Colorado. He is Matt Williamson. I'm Dale Lolley. This is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. And Matt, I'm not shocked that Tomlin treated that this way. In fact, I kind of expected it to be the case. It wasn't going to come out, 2 days after Wilson wasn't healthy enough to start in Atlanta.
Now he's ready
and
to
say,
go.
oh, he's good.
Right.
He's good to go. But there seems to be a lot of reaction to this, like, oh, my God, does this mean that they're going to stick with Justin Fields the rest of the way? I don't think that's the case.
I don't think that's the case either. I think Wilson is the better player that gives them a better chance to win, and I think they recognize that, let alone – not that Fields is a bad leader, but Wilson's a team captain.
Yeah.
He's brought in to start. He's done nothing to deter them from that original thought. If anything, I think he's strengthened his case, even though he hasn't been on the field a ton. But if his mobility's a problem, that's a problem.
It is, and look no further than the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday.
Right.
Kirk Cousins was obviously not able to move at where as much as he's not a big mover to begin with, but he was obviously not at 100%. And they adjusted their game plan accordingly. Everything was out of the shotgun or the pistol formation.
Yeah.
He didn't take any snaps under center because of that, and
they didn't use play action once.
Not once the entire game, and that's something he's good at. So when you put a quarterback out there who is limited in terms of mobility, there are things that you have to do schematically to adjust to that. And if you have a healthy backup, why put yourself through that?
Agreed.
And
it's a long season.
A good backup
It's
option,
not
just somebody.
Jordan Love going to Clifford.
Right.
Right. It's not that situation at all. It's like, I know I can win games with this guy.
Yeah.
Just saw it. And all those good things. Now, I think we need to define mobility too. Like designed runs like Justin Fields. We may see a few of those when Wilson's 100%.
Not like they do with Fields.
Not like Fields. And he's not going to get 10 carries a game. Of course, he'll scramble here and there as he has through his whole career, but less than he did 10 years ago. Him and Cousins are the same draft class. It's a somewhat of a comp. Cousins' injury is way more serious he's coming off of. But what I really wanted to stress with Wilson that you and I wouldn't know even if probably we were at practice is he's short and he needs to move around to see through the trees.
He can't just be in the pocket.
Yes. His mobility within the pocket is instrumental to his game.
Yeah, and we saw, even in the course of that game on Sunday against the Falcons, we saw the Steelers moving the pocket a lot. That's what this offense is going to look like.
Oh, yeah. And frankly, that's when Wilson did some of his best work in Seattle, too. A lot of designed rollouts. Now, Fields was simplified a little bit, but I also think it was because
it was like a one-read thing. He had the guy on the drag route, or he could run.
Yeah,
and that was pretty much it.
And because I think when they realized they had Atlanta's offense on the ropes too, I think that had a lot to do with it. So, all right, let's simplify things. We know Fields has thrown a lot of interceptions in his career. We can't have that, So keep your feet moving towards the line of scrimmage, either left or right. He rolls left well, by the way. Yeah. Not all quarterbacks do. And here's options down the sidelines.
Take the
outside
8-yard throw or take the 4-yard run and
we're happy with it. Yeah, and that'll work. Yeah, and that's not going to be the offense all year by any stretch.
People who think that we saw the Steelers' offense in its totality in one game on Sunday against Atlanta, that is not the case.
Not the case. And it's going to be a lot different. Not a lot different, but it's going to be noticeably different for Fields than Wilson. And I also think if Wilson were the starter and Fields is in the game, you're going to have designed power runs, that are really hard to stop with 10 blockers and Fields carrying the football. But you're not going to do that when Wilson's not in the picture.
No. And I think looking at this, like if Sunday's game was a playoff game,
Different story.
I think this is a different story. If Sunday's game was a divisional game that was a must, you really want to win these games. You want to win them all,
Of course.
But I think looking at the opponent and what Denver put on tape on Sunday, I think Tomlin's looking at this and going, well, we don't need to rush Russell Wilson back for this game. Because if Justin Fields plays the same way that he did Sunday against Atlanta, we probably win this game.
We should win this game. It's an inferior opponent in a hostile, difficult environment.
Yeah,
I'm going to bring up
sure.
the environment all week.
Yeah, I don't think that Steeler fans will take over Denver Stadium quite the same way they did in Atlanta.
And the altitude scares me because Denver's really good at home early in the year, but they're a pretty bad team. And
they average just over 5 yards a completion.
A completion, right.
Like, that is not going to test this defense.
Right. And I hear you. And I wonder, not that we'd ever know the answer, but if last Sunday were a playoff game, Wilson might have played.
Same
you
thing.
know what I mean?
Same
Who's
thing.
to say? I mean, if he gets you there and you trust him at this point, and not they don't trust him, but he may have been close, and we'll see. So I don't know. I mean, how else could you handle it as a head coach? I mean, we have to prepare with
Wednesday's
the healthiest
the install day.
Yeah, right.
Wednesday you're installing your game plan, and from what Mike Tomlin said today, it doesn't look like Russell Wilson is going to practice in full Wednesday. It looks like he'll probably be at least limited.
Right. So we need to install Denver stuff.
Yeah.
For whoever's going to be taking snaps.
And
like
to Tomlin's point, he said, I want to see what Justin Fields looks like with a full week of preparation.
That's another thing, too. Like, I'm not sure when Fields got word
Thursday.
that he was actually going to start.
It was
Thursday.
Thursday. Wilson took all the offensive snaps on Wednesday last week, installing the game plan to play against Atlanta. Shows up on Thursday with the tightness in his calf.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
He still did some stuff on Thursday as well, though.
Right. He was not.
They didn't shut him down. He was limited.
Yeah. Kind of like he did at camp a bunch.
Yeah.
Like he was always out there before practice to after practice doing things. He wasn't just in a boot or whatever on the side or even just riding a bike the whole time. I mean, he's always been active at these practices. And I think it's really precautionary, too. You know, I mean, again, if this was a
long season,
do or die situation, you play your best guy. But I think big picture, considering that you have a talented backup, use them. You know.
Now the question now is, what if Fields goes out there and lights up the Broncos?
That'd be a great problem to have, of course. Yeah. I don't think week one was enough to say.
No, I don't think so either.
We were talking about that yesterday.
I thought he played fine. He didn't do anything to say, "Ooh, you got to start him over Russell Wilson."
Yeah, like, I mean, he'd have to be really good to not stuff the genie back in the bottle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if he was, because he could.
He's done it before in the past.
Like, Clifford's not going to do that for the Packers. You know, just wow everybody. Be like, oh, my God, this is what we thought he was coming out of Ohio State, you know. I think it's possible against a bad defense. It's not a great defense.
Not a great defense. Not a bad defense, but not a great one.
Not a great one.
Like, if they go out and score, let's say they put 3 touchdowns on the board, kick a couple more field, they put 27 points on the board.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what it'd have to do, because then it's a weird dynamic in terms of, all right, Russ, now you're the 2.
Yeah.
You know, and he didn't really lose the job.
No, and
it's not Watson being terrible and bring Winston in. You know?
This is a situation where, and I'm assuming, I haven't ever asked anybody this, but I'm assuming that Mike Tomlin asked T.J. Watt and Cam Hayward and Minkah Fitzpatrick to call Russell Wilson and help recruit him to this team.
I would imagine. I'm sure it wasn't Cam's idea.
It may have been.
They're friends or whatever.
I mean, they may have gotten wind of it and said, hey, how about we call this guy and try to get him here? But they did that.
They did that, and they went out of their way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that matters. And there is a dynamic there, and Wilson has a lot of pelts on the wall and a lot of cachet.
2 weeks ago, the team voted him the offensive captain.
Exactly, which isn't a knock on Fields, of course, but they didn't. He wasn't brought here to be the 2, and he wasn't elected captain to be the 2.
Right.
You know.
And you're going to need him, to everybody's points about needing to score more points, to be healthy, to be able to do that later in the season when you need that. When you're going to have to score, 25 or more points to beat a Kansas City at home or a Philadelphia on the road.
Yeah. So I think, like, in conclusion, we'll see how the rest of the week goes, of course. But if he's questionable, I think you do the same thing and he's the emergency 3 again for this particular game.
He might be the 2. Maybe
he's a 2. Maybe he's a 2. Yeah, that would make some sense too. But I don't think there'd be a package for him. I mean, Fields would play every snap until otherwise, unless he was terrible.
Yeah,
if
because
he's throwing picks left and right, maybe.
Yeah, that's different.
Right.
But I just think that at this point in the season, given what you just saw from both teams, obviously Mike Tomlin feels like, hey, we can go into this game with Justin Fields making the start and win this football game.
I would think so. You'd still be favored, and you should still probably win that game. I'm sure Russ would like to play against his old team.
Oh, there is no ifs, ands, or buts about it, which might have been part of that conversation. And maybe Tomlin has that in the back of his mind, like Russ is saying, well, Russ is saying he's better, but is he saying he's better because he really wants to come back and play this game?
If this was Raiders week or Bears week, would it be the same? Bears are a bad example just because Fields playing. But, yeah, I mean, Wilson is going to push the envelope to get on the field for this game.
Yeah, that's your...
And hopefully he's fine, and he does.
Yeah, that's the pride factor. And, maybe he comes out tomorrow and says, I'm perfectly fine, and
runs with the ones and takes every snap, and good. I mean, that would be then we're not talking about it anymore,
Yeah.
Right. No, interesting. And I did hear, I think Tomlin noted, maybe I'm wrong, but he referenced the depth chart where Wilson's the 1 and Fields is the 2.
Yeah.
They didn't change the depth chart,
No, I think that is still the case. But to Tomlin's point, he said, look, I can't deal in hypotheticals at this point.
Right.
The guy wasn't healthy enough to play last week.
And with only 2 days removed.
Yeah. I have to get ready to play a game on the road, so you have one less practice day, one less day of preparation with the guys that are healthy.
And you know who my starter is when I get on the plane.
Yeah.
If not well before, obviously, and walk through and all that kind of stuff, too.
And it's only fair that for Fields that if he is going to be that guy, he takes the starter snaps.
Yeah, because that gives you the best chance to win.
Right.
Right. I mean,
that's what it's about. It's about winning games.
Right. 100%. And I do think Tomlin has one of his many strengths is, how do I win this game? If that means I got to throw it all over the yard, or I got to play it close to the vest, or I got to play this guy, or use this formation exclusively, or whatever it is, this is how we beat the Bengals, the Raiders, whoever, on this day for 60 minutes.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that people should understand by now about Mike Tomlin. It's not about what's going to happen 3 weeks from now, or 4 weeks from now, or 5 weeks from now. It's about winning this particular week.
And then you end up with a bunch of wins under your belt as a head coach.
Yeah.
That's how that works. Side note, I didn't realize he moved up the chart. I was looking at him and Peyton's lifetime wins. He passed, who was it? It was Jeff Fisher. He passed Parcells 2 wins ago, passed Fisher with this win. So skyrocketing up the boards right now.
Yeah. And you're going to have, to your point, 2 of the guys who are among
2 of the winningest out there right now. Yeah.
In that game
3
this
Super Bowls
weekend.
between them.
Yeah. Of course, Cameron Johnston placed on injured reserve today, and that stinks for him. But the Steelers did sign Corliss Waitman. And I had some smart aleck on social media. Who? I'm like, well, that says more about you.
Right, he's been around.
Not knowing who he is, as opposed to it says about Corliss Waitman. Corliss Waitman punted for the Broncos last season and led all punters in punts.
Oh, did he?
He had 96 punts last season.
That's kind of like Crash Davis leading the Miners in home
bit.
runs, but a
little bit.
You got to be kind of.
But he averaged 46.6 yards per kick. Now, half out was in Denver.
Yeah.
But that's pretty good.
No, he's been around the block, and he's been here. He was on the Steelers.
He actually kicked a couple years ago for the Steelers in Kansas City.
Okay.
Averaged over 50 yards a kick in that game.
Okay. I don't remember, but I do remember big leg.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure he's not as good as Johnston. Few are in terms of placement and all the clubs in his bags and all the stuff we were talking about and excited about. But it should be, as long as it's an improvement from last year. You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm shooting for here. If you can still have a star or a high quality dude get injured and it's still an improvement from last year, I'll take it.
Yeah. Just don't be that. And last year was more about consistency. The last couple of years with Presley Harvin has been more about the consistency than it is booming 50-yard punts every time.
The ability's obviously there.
Give me 45 every time.
Yes.
Not 50 on this one and 35 on the next one.
One that goes offside your foot on the sidelines. Or,
especially when you're backed up in your own end zone.
Or it's late in the season and weather and all those type of things too. So, interesting.
Tomlin said that Dan Moore dealing with a little bit of swelling in his ankle. I saw Dan today over at the facility. He looks like he's fine. I wouldn't expect that to be anything major. he played, again, we talked about this yesterday. I thought he played an outstanding game.
No one wants to give the guy credit, and
He had Matthew Jude on over him
a lot,
and shut him out.
I think he is, not that the Steelers did run the ball a lot last year, better in the run game than protection. And people need to remember, this time last year, he got Bosa, Crosby, Garrett.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, he had a murder
He ran the
row
gauntlet,
of the
yeah.
hardest pass rushers to deal with in the league. And frankly, just watching him in camp, talking to Wolf the other day, he's like, I think he might be the most improved lineman on the team.
He very well might be. And I
you're allowed
talked to him
get
about
better.
it in the during the offseason and Summit training camp. He has completely kind of remade his body a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he is jacked up now.
Yeah, he's not chubby or,
No,
carrying
he
all
is
extra pounds.
like,
Right.
not somebody you want to see in the back alley.
Work is not a work ethic
No,
is
not
not
at all.
a problem at all.
Not at all.
Right. So again, I mentioned the run. I do think he's better in the run game. They ran the ball a lot.
Yeah.
You know?
Isaac Sayamalu, Tomlin said that they'll see where he's at on Wednesday. There's a possibility he practices. I doubt it, though.
Okay.
That's probably at least another
I
week.
thought it was going to be at least 2 games.
Yeah. Roman Wilson going to see his workload start to pick up a little bit. They'll see where he's at and whether he's able to pick things up.
But Scotty Miller had a role. I mean, you'd have to bump someone to get him involved.
Absolutely.
Right,
Scotty
right.
Miller ended up being the emergency holder on that
Oh, I missed that. Okay.
on the last field goal.
Okay.
And Tomlin talked about they just said, last Thursday, he was just asking guys, hey, anybody here have any holding in their background outside of the quarterbacks? And Scotty Miller's like, yeah, I held in high school. Okay, so they went out
10 years or whatever.
practiced it a few
right.
times in practice, so just in case.
Just in case.
And lo and behold, you needed that.
That's crazy. I mean, but no, he was a part of the team. He's part of the offense.
Absolutely. And then finally, Darius Rush in concussion protocol right now.
Okay.
So,
2 questions for you. Any Fautanu news?
I
mean, he was active and
he
ready to
practiced
go.
and was active last week.
He's just the
yeah.
backup right tackle right now.
Right now, as it is. I would imagine if Dan Moore doesn't practice tomorrow, maybe they use that as an excuse to say, hey, Dan, take the day off. Your ankle's sore. We're going to let Broderick work at left tackle. We'll give Troy some snaps at right tackle.
Yeah,
I would first
think
unit.
Troy's not going to ever play left.
No.
I mean, he's not.
Unless
done
there's
that
an emergency.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah.
And they signed Terrell Edmunds.
Yeah, and Terrell Edmunds was signed.
So we got a lot of news today.
Yeah, for sure. And I like that signing. He's a guy that's been with the team.
Mm-hmm.
He's played a lot of snaps with Minka Fitzpatrick.
Yeah. I think he's a depth signing now.
A depth signing. He's not here to start, but he is a quality depth piece
Mm-hmm.
who's also played a lot of special teams in his career.
See, that's what I was going to ask you because I've been meaning to look it up because I don't think he did as a Steeler much because he was in every snap.
Early in his career, he played
Did he?
all
Okay.
of them. Yeah, because that rookie season, he not only started and played like every snap.
I'd say he led the team in
He played like 250
snaps.
special team snaps too.
Okay. Because I assume since he's bounced around since his first stint in Pittsburgh that he must be playing teams, but I meant to check that out and I haven't looked it up yet.
And again, with that new kickoff rule, this is more like a running play anyway. So those defensive guys,
he fits perfectly. Yeah, I mean, big, strong safety types are what you're looking
can
for.
run. And
right. So, is the other Elliott gone then? Who did they add? I mean, the punter swap's obvious.
They placed Logan Lee on IR.
Oh, okay, that's what
last Saturday.
Okay.
So they had the open space. They'll make another move.
Okay.
Another corresponding move here.
Gotcha.
They didn't have to do anything, I should say, to make that happen.
So the initial roster was kind of loaded at D lineman. Lee goes to IR.
Yeah.
Lowry was inactive.
Yeah.
Everybody else did their thing.
Yep.
Cool.
That's it. Let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. We'll be back with more right after this.
We bleed black and gold. This is the Pittsburgh Steelers Audio Network.
And welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. Accept no imitations. And Matt, it is Tuesday.
Yep.
The first Tuesday of the
I know where we're going with this.
It's Power Ranking Day.
Okay.
Let's take a look here what Eric Edholm has on NFL.com. We always use his.
Yeah. Real quick, we kind of touched on it on a podcast earlier today. I know it's only 1 week, and I say this every Monday, Tuesday for the last 20 years that I've been in the media after week 1, and usually it comes out dumb after 15 weeks. Things change so rapidly, but I look at teams like Carolina and think, their season's over.
I know what they are.
Yeah, I mean, you're horrendous.
Not only did they get smoked on Sunday, They lost their best player.
Right. Like there's
For the
nothing
season.
good coming out of there.
Yeah.
Right.
So they are 32.
Okay, they should be. I actually had the Pats 32 and them 31 when I did my final preseason one, and now they're not close.
Yeah. At 31, the New York Football Giants.
I don't think they're cooked yet, but that was miserable.
That was a bad one.
I mean, like, you got to get the shovel out, start digging, you know?
Now, the thing that's in their favor is that they play Washington this week.
Ooh, they can't be far off.
I think they might be better than Washington.
I thought so 4 days ago, whatever. Yeah. Washington doesn't have much talent.
There's not much there.
The Giants at least have some dudes.
At 30 are the Raiders. That's a
Pretty
little harsh. That's a little harsh. I'd have them a little bit higher.
They played the Chargers neck and neck and lost a close one.
Yeah.
I don't think either team's great. I think they're both below average.
It was 16-10 halfway through the fourth quarter.
I think the Raiders are favored against the Patriots right now.
I think so, too.
In Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At 29, down 3 spots is Washington.
Yeah, I think they're going to live down there, too.
Yeah, I think they're not a very good football team.
No.
Defensively, they are awful.
They have D tackles and nothing else.
Awful. At 28, down a spot, the team the Steelers face this week, the Denver Broncos.
Wasn't a good showing.
Was not.
I mean, it sounds like you've done some of this. You dig into the numbers, and we talked about some of them yesterday. It's pretty miserable.
There was just nothing there challenging offensively at all. And Sean Payton is supposed to be an offensive genius.
Right.
And you can't scheme up anything.
Everything's short. And, you know, anytime that was even close to going downfield, it was to Sutton. Tight ends don't offer much. The running backs are fine.
Quarterback was, 0 for 10 on passes of 10 or more yards.
Yeah,
It was just bad.
Real bad. And the defense has one guy that's a star and then a bunch of
you can kind of borderline around
starters.
that, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. At 27, up 4 spots, the New England Patriots.
I'd say New England better show up pretty soon.
That might be as high as they go.
That might be as high as they go.
Yeah.
I mean, they got I hate the word rusty, but unprepared Bengals team that never plays well early in the season. But I give the Patriots credit. I mean, there were a handful of teams, including the Steelers, the Chargers, the Patriots, that ran the ball, played good defense, didn't turn it over.
I was going to say that the Patriots played a very Steeler-like script.
Yeah. I thought the Chargers did too. You know, like, we're not going to throw it all over the field. We're controlling the flow of the thing.
The difference is, though, the Chargers have the quarterback that's supposed to be able to do that kind of stuff. They just don't have any of the weapons.
I'm going to throw it to, right?
Yeah.
And I'll take the Steeler D over all those teams, of course. But But I don't think the Patriots deserve to go much higher than that.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think they ever get above 25.
I don't know if they're better in Denver either.
No. 26, down a spot, the Tennessee Titans.
Levis is a problem.
He's a problem. I want to see where Chicago's at on this list. Because Chicago was bad in that game.
We think a lot alike because I ended today's podcast saying, and the crux of the podcast was I'm going to do my power ranks tonight. I wasn't doing them yet, but like, who are the big adjustments? And I'm like, if the Bears and Titans played 111 times, it might be 55 to 56. You know, I mean, like, these guys are pretty equal. I don't know that either is better than I thought. And I think either one of those teams play most teams in the league, they get beat pretty bad.
Caleb Williams threw for 93 yards in that game.
Yeah.
And they did not score an offensive touchdown.
Didn't score a touchdown, right.
Like, Justin Fields was way better than that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, markedly.
And Levis
was just really
horrendous,
awful.
especially the second half. I didn't realize this. DeAndre Hopkins was out there for only like 20 snaps, but he's playing on a torn MCL. They might not get him all year, really.
Yeah.
They might shut him down.
Yeah, it's troublesome.
It's not great.
At 25, down a spot, Arizona.
Defense is horrible.
It is, but I might have been a little kinder. They gave
hung around
Buffalo everything that Buffalo could handle in Buffalo.
And they were like that last year.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they didn't use Marvin Harrison, but that doesn't mean he wasn't impacting the game. No, I think Arizona can hang.
At 24, up 4 spots, and he was probably too low on these guys to begin with the Saints.
He probably was. I remember when we did it, we thought they're a lot closer to average than
they're
26
they
or
should
whatever.
probably
they
be
used
around
to be.
20.
Yeah. And they were very impressive. They beat a terrible team, but they were very impressive.
At 23, down 4 spots, are the Falcons.
I guess you have to drop them. And my concerns wouldn't be, are they going to be in contention for the NFC South? I think they will. I think they'll get better. I just don't know where Cousins is at right now.
Yeah.
That would worry me.
That was troubling.
Yeah.
We talked about it before the game, and he did nothing during the game to dispel any of that.
No. I mean, him, Watson, Burrow, There was another name that tipped my tongue too. Like, are these guys healthy?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know. Rogers.
Yeah.
He
didn't
was
show me
okay
anything.
last night,
Yeah.
but he didn't look great.
At 22 down a spot are the Colts.
Their defense, we don't talk about this enough, is so vanilla. They're the only ones running that old school Seattle cover 3. Coordinators are too smart for that now. I mean, from what I understand, him and Sirianni, the head coach, are like super tight, and Bradley's like the nicest guy in the world.
But he's an offensive coach, and he's
and he's
go
never
worry
going
about
to
the
fire
defense.
him.
Yeah.
But you can't just run the same stuff over and over in today's
Yeah.
NFL.
Not unless you have outstanding talent.
Right.
And he doesn't have that.
I always talk about when I was with the Browns, Butch Davis did with the U.
Yeah.
Well, because they had first-round picks at every position. They
We've
didn't
had
change anything.
super Steelers from the Super 70s teams on. We only ran like 4 or 5 defensive plays because they had Hall of Famers all over the field.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, and back to that scheme, when the Legion of Boom was the Legion of Boom, okay, we got better guys than you.
Speaking of which, Seattle is up 1 spot to 21.
I was encouraged. I think they kind of figured it out as the game went along. Young staff, defense caused some problems, caused a lot of problems for Denver and Knicks. And I'd keep an eye on like Walker's injury though. And I think Charbonnet got banged up a little bit too.
He did too. Yeah. So we'll see where that goes. At 20, up 3 spots, Minnesota.
Huge win, but I wouldn't get too crazy about it. Yeah, I mean, well done.
At 19, down 2 spots, Jacksonville.
They usually find a way to screw it up.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a very winnable game.
They were up 24-7.
Yeah, a very winnable game. ATN with a miserable fumble, and then Tyreek over the top.
Yeah.
And that's probably about where they belong.
This is interesting, though. At 18, down 4 spots. Let me know if this team should be lower. Cleveland.
I would drop them from wherever I had them to start the season.
I might have them below Jacksonville.
I think they're a dog in Jacksonville or in a neutral site.
I don't know about
Jags,
Minnesota,
right?
but I might have them below Seattle.
Yeah. I would too. I mean, quarterback's too important.
You can't be that bad at quarterback.
Yeah.
And be even in the top 8. Like, they're awful.
I mean, if they're
Deshaun Watson is not a good football player.
No. And if they're not to the point now, Myles Garrett, and everyone's going to know it now. Like you start trotting him out there, it's going to be a miserable situation.
Yeah.
That's the highest I'd even consider putting.
Oh.
I mean, probably a few spots lower and behind Jacksonville for sure.
Yeah.
By the way, I'd have the Chargers listed by now too, just because they beat the Raiders. I'm not
Doesn't
willing.
yeah.
Right?
No, you're right.
Yeah.
At 17, up a spot, Pittsburgh.
I'd have them over the Chargers, and I'd have them over everybody listed so far for sure.
Yeah. At 16, up 4 spots, so they leapfrog the Steelers, is Tampa Bay. Because they beat up on
A terrible team.
a bad Washington
Baker was
team.
really good. I mean, it was an encouraging day for sure. I mean, they played very well.
But Washington's defense is
It's really bad.
trash.
Really bad. Start all your
Trash.
fantasy dudes against that group. Yeah.
15. Up
Todd
a,
Bowles also an awful matchup for a rookie quarterback.
Yeah.
Too, just schematically.
15 up a spot. This team should not be ahead of the Steelers, the Chicago Bears.
No, I would have the Bears below the Vikings, I think.
Yeah.
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 So in below Seattle, yeah. That's the
I'd
neighborhood
probably have them
I'd
below Cleveland.
Yeah.
Because Cleveland's defense would shut them down.
I would have the Chargers and Bears in below those teams we just mentioned.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
certainly below Jacksonville.
at 14 up a spot, the Rams. We're still not to the Chargers.
Wow. I don't get that with the Chargers. That's about where the Rams are at. I mean,
Yeah. Their line is a mess right
it's
now.
a mess. And now Nakua's out for a stretch, and they're 3
He's
receiver
out.
sets all the time.
I heard this morning. So when you're placed on IR, it's 4 games, not 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Their bye week
Their buys in there.
is also in there as well. So he's going to miss 5 games for you fantasy people out there. It's not. This
5
is not
fantasy weeks.
at least 4
Yeah, yeah.
weeks. At least 4 games, or at least 5 games, 4 weeks of actual play, but 5 games overall for fantasy value. I don't know what you do with that.
I feel like they're getting hit harder with injuries than anybody.
They're getting killed.
I mean, especially on
Yeah.
one side of the ball too.
Yeah. At 13 down a spot, so he has the Chargers somewhere in the top 12.
Way too high.
13 down a spot of the Jets.
They were bad last night.
They were not good at all.
I expected
in any phase.
I mean, that's a tough game. Don't get me wrong, but And even the offensive ineptitude didn't totally surprise me. I thought the Jets D would be better than that, though. I mean, they scored on like 8 straight possessions or something crazy. Ran it all day long.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the Jets D has to be better than that.
At 12, up 1 spot, the Chargers. So he had them at 13
I mean,
to
he
begin
loves
with.
them,
He had them
apparently,
way
to begin with.
overranked to begin with.
Yeah. They'd be 20th to me or in that neighborhood.
They beat the Raiders 22-10.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Raiders are not good at all.
No, it's a nice win. The Raiders were like his 31st team or 30th team.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not that impressive.
That's different than the Steelers and Falcons were right next to each other last year at 17 or last week at I think at 17 and 18.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a big difference. You went into the 18th best team according to these rankings,
and you were a dog in the game.
Yeah, and were an underdog and beat them. The Chargers were favored in this game, and they beat the team that was 29th.
I mean, it seems to be common across the media right now, but I just don't see it with the Chargers. I mean, I think Harbaugh's a great coach and instilled some things, and he played the brand that they have to play. But I don't think that makes them better than a lot of those teams we mentioned.
No, I hear you. At 11, only down 2 spots. And I might have to move them lower than this, given what their current state are the Packers.
Oh, that's funny you mentioned that, because my exact words today when we were chatting about power rank stuff was, I assume he's doing power ranks like I do. Like, how good are you this minute?
Right now.
This minute.
If they have to start Malik Willis like they're talking about.
I said I'd have them like 25th or 26th.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's what they are.
And they lost last week.
Oh, by the way, right.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't super impressive in that game. And your $50 million quarterback's on the shelf, and you don't have Fields or somebody like that behind them, or a Minshew or something like that. I mean,
they're in trouble.
Yeah, they're in trouble. They're going to lose a lot of games here until he comes back.
Yeah.
I may even put him lower in 25. Like, they don't beat the Bears or Vikings right now.
It's not going to be good. The strength of that team is all the offensive weapons, the guys they can throw it to. We've seen time and again when Malik Willis has been in there, they haven't let him throw the ball.
No. I mean, like, they don't beat the Browns right now.
No
chance.
They don't beat any of the 8 or 9 teams right behind them. In these.
I mean, how many points do they score against the Browns right now? 3?
If they're lucky.
Right.
Yeah.
They may not get it past midfield.
That's if Deshaun Watson throws them one.
Yeah, maybe.
At 10, down 4 spots, Cincinnati.
They were pretty miserable. They deserve to be dropped. That's probably fair.
No, it is.
Yeah.
They always seem to do that in the opener.
I know. I mean, eventually you got to call it head coach a little bit on that.
Yeah, you didn't have them ready. At 9, up 2 spots, Miami.
I'd love to see Cincy play Miami right now and see how that goes. I mean, either one could blow the other one's doors off, or it could be a battle. But Miami was a much better team in Week 1 than Cincinnati was.
At 8, up 2 spots, Dallas.
I might even have them a little higher.
Defense played well in Cleveland, but a lot of that was also Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I just think Zimmer and Parsons is a nice combination.
At 7, up a spot, Buffalo.
Cool. They're good.
That's going to be a good Thursday night game.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good one.
Miami
We got
at
Miami,
Buffalo.
Buffalo, yeah. Would you Buffalo ahead of Miami?
Yeah.
I think I would too.
Yeah. At 6, up a spot, Houston.
I would even have them a little higher. I would have them over Baltimore right now.
At 5, down 2 spots is Baltimore.
Okay.
I'm with you, though. I would have Houston ahead of Baltimore.
And I'm sure they'll figure it out. And it's just the O-line to me.
That's the big thing. I don't know. I don't know if they will figure that out, though.
I was about to say that's like the hardest position to, quote, figure out, too. You got
Your
5
offensive
people,
line coach died 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, whenever that was. And it's not like Anthony Munoz is coming walking through the door.
And you can't.
You
just
have
pick
what
one
you
up,
have.
You have what you have. I mean, maybe Rosengarten gets better and turns into a solid right tackle by midseason.
But nobody's trading them an offensive lineman because nobody has a spare offensive lineman.
Right. Yeah, it's not a position that you want to be behind the 8 ball right now.
Yeah,
you know, like the Rams with their injuries.
Right.
Like, one more and forget about it. Or even so, they might be in trouble.
At 4, up a spot, Philadelphia.
I'd have Houston ahead of Philadelphia. They had a pretty good game.
Yeah.
Dallas or Philly?
I'd say Philly. I just think Philly's a better team.
Yeah, I think they have more. I think Dallas is lacking a run game.
Yeah.
And more line issues, too.
I mean, they're running Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah, I don't like that.
5 years ago, Ezekiel Elliott. That's not going to work. At 3 up a spot, Detroit.
Top 3 to me are definitely KC, San Fran, and Detroit.
San Fran number 2, KC number 1.
I think number 4 is where you start to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Who would be your 4? I think I'd go with Houston, but I think the Eagles have a strong case too.
I'd go Philly, Houston.
Dallas would be my next one.
Dallas, yeah.
I think I'd have Dallas over the AFC North.
Yeah.
Right now, today.
Yeah. And I can't, I'm not that high on Baltimore. I'm just not. Not as high as, I think they're around 10, closer to 10 than they are.
I think you agree with me because we've talked about this 1,000
5.
times, but I had Cincy over Baltimore to start the season.
Yeah.
And Baltimore, they both lost, and Baltimore's wasn't as bad, and it was against the
Wasn't
Chiefs,
at home, and
but it was frightening the way that they played. I mean, because of the problems that are obvious.
Yeah. John Harbaugh comes out today and says, we didn't sign Derrick Henry to be a 30-carry per game guy. What'd you sign him for then?
That's what he does. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, that's what he does.
That's the beauty of him. Yeah, you don't want to give him 12 carries.
No, that's silly.
All right, that's what he
and
does.
6 of them came on the opening possession. Then you just ignored him the rest of the game.
Well, because you could block anybody. I mean, your plan was to give him the ball a lot, and then he got out of it.
So, I don't know. But those are Eric Edholm's rankings after week 1. The Steelers getting very little love there.
Yeah, and I'm guilty of this too. I mean, wherever you start teams, it's harder to move them.
It is.
One game, he had a bad game, he'll figure it out, blah, blah, blah. And, I mean, the Steelers were playing with a backup quarterback, but that was a pretty good win.
On the road,
quality
with
team,
your backup quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, the defensive performance was as good as any in the league.
Yeah.
So
against a team that a lot of people were picking to win that division.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he bumped up Tampa Bay 4 spots for smoking a bad Washington team. I don't know.
No, I hear you. I would have the Steelers higher. I'd definitely have Chargers lower.
Yeah, that to me is that'll even itself out here.
I'd have Jacksonville over the Chargers.
Yeah.
I'd have the Browns over the Chargers.
Yeah, I would too. Yep. He is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. That was the power rankings for the first Tuesday of the regular season. Matt and I will be back with more right after this.
This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR Steelers Nation Radio.
And we are back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, I don't know how closely you followed this story that kind of broke this morning, but a new lawsuit filed against Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I just saw the headlines.
Alleging that he sexually assaulted somebody he was on a date with at some point. And this is when he was still in Houston, so I'm not sure why this didn't come out.
Right.
Didn't come out while he was still in Houston and when all the other stuff was coming out, but it did. But
this is slightly different than what he was accused of before.
Yes, this is a little different. But it brings up the idea that the league is looking into this. They're going to investigate it. They're going to see what happens here. And the Browns have said, "Hey, we're going to let the league take care of this. We don't have any comment on this right now." So what would happen if the league comes down and says, "Yeah, we're going to suspend him again"? Well, the Browns could then say, well, "That's a violation of the terms of his contract."
Right.
We're going to void that.
Which would be the best thing that could ever happen to the Browns. I mean, just football-wise.
Well, here's the thing.
Okay.
So if they would do that, yes, they wouldn't have to pay him the 90-some million dollars that they still owe him.
The remaining money.
Yeah, the remaining money that they owe him. They would be out from underneath that.
Which is nice.
$92 million that they guaranteed have to pay him over the final 2 seasons of this contract after this one.
Okay. So they'd be out. That comes off the books.
Yeah, they wouldn't have to pay. Jimmy Haslam would not have to write those checks.
Okay.
What it wouldn't do would be alleviate any of the cap ramifications because they've continually kicked the can down the road with this.
Yeah, so they shouldn't get off scot-free, though.
Here's what it would be. If something were to happen and they release him now or at the end of the season.
Yeah, you violated your contract and you're gone.
His cap hit in 2025 would be $80.77 million.
Wow. Do you know if there's any more past that?
Well, they could designate him a post-June 1st, 2025
release.
Cut,
yeah.
That would mean the cap charge would be $26.9 million for 2025 and $53.8 million in 2026.
Okay. Which I'm sure that's what they would do to try to stay more competitive. I mean, like, Denver's...
But you're not going to go get a quarterback that...
Right.
You know.
I mean, and you also short a quarterback, but you're not getting your money's worth out of him, obviously. I mean, obviously.
They haven't to this point.
No. It's
not
the worst trade
close.
in contract in NFL history, basically. Yeah. That's interesting. I mean, in some ways, through terrible circumstances, if he's guilty, of course. I mean, we're not even talking about the young lady, that the Browns would benefit.
They would. At the same time, I wonder if the league...
Like, remember when they suspended him for 11 games? It wasn't 10. It was 11 on purpose to screw them up with the... Couldn't roll it the next year.
Couldn't roll it. Couldn't roll that contract over. No, you got to eat it all now. He's on your roster, and you got to pay him.
I would think anything the league can do that is one way or another will not favor the Browns.
Not going to benefit Cleveland because the opposing teams around the league were unhappy with that contract because it was fully guaranteed for a guy who essentially was a scumbag.
Yeah, right. I mean, if that would have been Mahomes' offer, I think the other owners would have been like, okay,
we get it. Yeah.
I mean, we knew it was coming eventually. He's the right guy, as opposed to you did it for him.
Yeah, you did it for a guy who's never played for you.
Yeah.
Who's facing
a lot,
dozens of sexual assault allegations, and that's the guy you decided to make the face of your franchise and fully guarantee a contract.
No one's going to feel bad for the Browns in this situation.
Not one iota.
Or Watson.
No.
Yeah, right. So either way, I mean, if it's $80 million in cap hit, either in 1 year or two, it's hard to overcome because you got to go find a quarterback somewhere.
It's essentially over a quarter of your cap.
Now, if it would happen soon, I assume they turn to Winston and see what he can do. Like if
it won't be anytime soon.
I mean, they're not going to find
these things.
Tomorrow. Yeah. But it's just one more distraction for the Browns at a minimum. Yeah. I mean, you don't think every stadium they walk into is going to bring this up?
No, the team could, the league could have come and said, you know what, we're going to put him on the commissioner's exempt list because this is, and maybe that happens later in the season.
Because it starts to heat up.
Yeah, they start to investigate this. They find out, you know what, it
doesn't look great.
He probably did this. They could put him on the exempt list, but that doesn't even get them out from underneath. That just means he couldn't play.
That just means he couldn't play. He'd still be getting paid.
Yeah.
Okay. And his cap and contract stuff wouldn't change at all. Wow. I mean, there's no good way around this for the
There really
Browns,
isn't. They did it to themselves.
They did it themselves. And, you invest in people that do bad things, they often do bad things again, Yeah. And so, again, I don't think anybody's crying for him, especially around here.
No. I mean, I just think it's
I mean, it's going to handcuff the team even if he's 100% innocent because he's not good at football.
Yeah. Now he's going to be asked about it again. This is all going to crop up again. Teammates are going to be asked about it. I mean, what do you think of this new allegation against Deshaun?
This isn't me making it up, but I can't confirm it or anything. But there's been a lot of talk that football's not the most important thing to him anymore either. And one more distraction, one more, chant from every opposing building you walk in. I mean, is that going to make him dedicate himself to the game and become better under pressure? No, probably not.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a mess.
I mean, they signed him to a 5-year, $230 million fully guaranteed contract. Mm-hmm. And at this point, this was 3 years ago they did that.
Yeah.
This was the third year.
Yeah.
They've gotten 13 starts out of him.
Yeah, I know their record is good in those starts, but it's not because of him. It's more coincidence.
He has made from the Cleveland. He's made $142 million in his career now.
So think about this angle. I was just thinking about this the other day too. I don't think Kevin Stefanski is this like future Hall of Famer. every couple of years he's going to win Coach of the Year, but he's a very good offensive mind and play designer and designer of offense. And he got a lot out of Flacco, Brissett. There was another one since he's been there that was just a dude.
Mayfield,
yeah. I mean, he got a lot out of way less talented players than Watson, and he can't get anything out of this guy.
Nothing.
I mean, it's kind of...
I don't think he's capable right now.
I don't know that he's mentally capable or
physically
engaged. Yeah, right. I mean, when he's under pressure, like he was in that game,
he got hit 17 times.
Yeah,
that was actually the most in the NFL since the Steelers had 18 hits. I'm trying to remember against Denver.
Oh, maybe they can beat it.
And Drew Lock. When they started that game,
I mean, it's a ton of hits over the course of the game.
They knocked Lock out of that game.
Mm-hmm. I mean, but he's got a lot of problems on the field. I mean, he does not. I don't think he's as athletic as he used to be.
No.
He's not as explosive as a runner. He doesn't create in that manner like he once did, which was his greatest strengths. I think his arm strength's always been overrated. Like, I was low on him coming out, and frankly, I was wrong because he was quite good for a while. But at Clemson, he threw a lot of picks and didn't have a big arm and trusted his arm more than he should have coming out, and you're still seeing some of that. Under pressure numbers are like the worst in the league. I mean, and he's been fortunate to have Chubb in a good line for a while, and it's only going to get worse in that way.
Now I think his arm might be shot.
Yeah, and his arm's not good, and now he's had injuries on top of it.
That shoulder injury affects your accuracy. He didn't throw a ton.
He doesn't play like a confident, cocky guy. You know, I mean, like Debo Sweeney, I think, was his coach at Clemson. You know, Dabo. Yeah, I knew I was saying that wrong. And they said, you're getting Michael Jordan. You know, you're getting the clutch guy. I mean, that's what he said when they drafted him. And you're getting the clutch guy.
That's one of the things I liked about him.
He had all that kind of stuff to him, and you don't see any of that now.
No,
you know, and the skills were a
after
little overrated to begin with.
You know, when you keep having issues, you know, the confidence gets eroded a little bit.
And I'm sure there are 10 guys in the huddle look at him and be like, "You're not Michael Jordan. I don't want you taking the last shot.
You're not even Scottie Pippen at this point. Yeah,
no, you shouldn't be on the court."
That's a dated reference for many of our listeners.
I would guess so. Yeah,
but anyway,
he was good too.
Yeah. Let's get to a break.
That's a problem, though.
Yeah. The Browns' problems are the Browns' problem. The Browns is the Browns. It's their problems.
As good as their defense is, they could have a disastrous season.
Oh, it could blow up
real quick. It could
get
real bad,
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen that in the past.
Mm-hmm.
He is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. That's going to do it for hour number 1. Matt and I will be back with hour number 2 of The Drive right after this.
This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
And we are back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And starting off hour number 2 here, it is time for the Fantasy Football Focus. And what we do here on Tuesdays is we look at the waiver wire, then we take a look ahead at the schedule to see what defenses, who's playing who, and who might be a good streamer defense, that kind of stuff. Gives you a little look at the next week's schedule as well.
It's about that time of the week we start thinking about week 2.
Yeah. You get one day to celebrate.
That's about it,
and then it's moving on.
Get back to the grindstone.
24-hour rule. So at running back this week, and I know in our league, man, there is nothing available.
You said it perfectly just a minute ago before we record. Like, collectively, we drafted quite well.
Yeah.
You know, like
there's junk out there.
Mason wasn't on the there from last night, or I mean, they were hit pretty hard.
Yeah. So the number one running back here, I'm looking at fantasypros.com in terms of, and they look at how many of these guys are rostered in Yahoo and ESPN leagues. And
folks, if you're new, then we do this every Tuesday. Sometimes we're gonna bring up names. You're like, that guy's no chance in my league. Well, every leagues are different.
This one,
you know, right.
So the number one running back here is J.K. Dobbins. He's rostered in 49% of leagues.
Yeah.
So he fits.
Right. And I would put in a lot for him right now. If he's still out there.
He looks like the guy.
And they're going to run the ball.
Yeah. And they play Carolina this week.
But
Derek Brown just went on IR.
I thought you said Chicago plays Carolina.
No.
Oh, the Chargers
play Carolina.
Okay. They'll run all over them.
Yeah, they're going to run all over them. Jordan Mason, who you just mentioned, rostered in 49% of leagues.
Sounds like there's a good chance you get at least another week out of him.
Yeah. I wouldn't spend the fab unless I'm the McCaffrey owner.
I'd say you really would like to have
You should have already had him, though.
You should have.
Especially knowing that McCaffrey was going into the season already injured.
He didn't get injured.
This wasn't a surprise.
No. This is lingering from last year, his calf injury.
Yeah. Zach Charbonnet, rostered in 47% of leagues.
One of the best handcuffs out there.
Kenneth Walker has an abdominal injury. Charbonnet was questionable in week 1, but he did get 10 touches. If Walker can't play, Charbonnet gets a nice big bump. They play New England this week, though.
Okay. But no, he should be in pretty much every league.
Yeah. Jaleel McLaughlin, rostered in 38% of leagues. They, of course, will play the Steelers this week. He's with Denver.
I'd have a hard time starting him this week, but he got more early down usage than I would have thought.
He caught 5 passes as well.
Yeah. They always throw the backs.
They went for 1 yard.
Wow. There's that. But PPR, that's 5 points. You know, right? Yeah.
5.1 points.
5.1, right.
That's the cheapest 5.1 points you'll ever get.
The least productive in NFL history for it, but yeah.
Jalen Wright, only rostered in 21%
Side note,
of
everyone
leagues.
gave Wilson such a hard time for throwing sideways in Denver.
Maybe it ain't him.
You should go watch the next tape.
Oh, yuck.
Yeah.
They averaged, I mentioned this yesterday, 5.1 yards per reception. As a team.
I know. It's bonkers. It's hard to believe.
It's really hard to do.
Those are the catches.
Those were the catches. It was 3.3 yards per attempt.
Yeah.
Yuck.
It's awful.
Jalen Wright only rostered in 21% of leagues.
So I just got a blurb a minute ago. Chan and Mostert didn't participate today.
They play Thursday.
Yeah. You know, so
I can't believe he's only rostered 21% of the league.
Right. I mean, especially as explosive as that offense
He's rostered in our league.
I mean, even if one of those two misses, he's a borderline starter to me.
You probably bump Jeff Wilson up a little bit too.
I think he got touches in that game too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he'd be the banger. He'll be the goal line back, I would assume.
Yeah, I think so. And even if those guys play, I wouldn't mind having the rookie on my
Wright
bench.
should be in leagues, 100%. Ty Chandler only rostered in 33% of leagues.
He got a little bit of the garbage time work.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit misleading, but he's a good player. And Aaron Jones is never going to be a bell cow.
No. Yeah. I mean, you know, I just mentioned Wilson. Jeff Wilson only rostered in 21% of leagues.
Okay.
So not a bad.
No,
fallback,
right.
You know.
A piece of a good offense, and Mostert and Chan have not been pillars of health throughout their careers either.
Justice Hill is rostered in 4% of leagues.
He's the clear backup.
He's the third down back. And he's the third down back.
Yeah.
And game script isn't always going to favor that with Baltimore, but it did last week, and he caught 6 balls.
Yeah, right. I mean, so that in itself has value.
Yeah.
And frankly, Ravens running backs are better than they should be because of Lamar.
Yeah. Alexander Madison rostered in 4% of leagues.
Doesn't do much for me. But
I can't get on board with that.
He was a receiving back, but basically all he did was hurt White.
Yeah.
I don't know that he helped himself much, but he hurt White.
Emmanuel Wilson was the backup this past week in Green Bay. He's rostered in 2% of leagues.
And everyone watched. He had a couple nice runs.
But Marshawn Lloyd's going to be back at some point.
He's going to go past him. Yeah. I mean, if you're the Jacobs owner, fine, maybe pick him up and have him as your backup.
But I don't want to play him this week.
No.
With Love out?
No, that offense isn't going to do anything.
Yeah, they're not going to do anything. Tank Bigsby, rostered in 5% of leagues.
I think I'd have him over a lot of these names you just mentioned.
Yeah, he should be in leagues.
He looks good, too,
Yeah. At wide receiver, Brandon Cooks, rostered in 32% of leagues.
He's just boring, but he's steady.
Yeah.
I mean, borderline steady. We're not that far from bye weeks and injuries.
Dallas can't run the football.
No,
we talked about him a lot. We drafted him a lot in our mock drafts.
Yeah. People are sick of him.
DeMarcus Robinson, rostered in 6% of leagues. Puka Nakua's out, as I mentioned earlier.
He's a 2.
Yeah.
He's going to probably be the number 2 target guy.
Now, the problem is Cooper Kupp,
I think he has
every target. Every target.
He has like a 42% target
Unbelievable.
share. And it might go up, which is nuts.
And most of them are like extended handoffs.
Yeah. But he looks as good as, nobody got a bigger bump. And like if we had a draft today, Cooper Kupp might go in round 2.
Yeah.
I mean, he looks good and he's in a phenomenal situation right now. But Robinson should probably be in all leagues.
Yeah. Andre Yasivas with Cincinnati, rostered in 13% of leagues. He started opposite Jamar Chase with T. Higgins out. Technically, he's the 3, I guess.
He is, and Burton's looming, but it's his job as the 3. I haven't heard Higgins out an extended stretch.
No, nor have I.
And I don't know that he's all that great. I mean,
but if I had Chase or Higgins, maybe I go that direction, but I'm not all fired up.
My
to
team
do
would
it.
be in pretty bad shape if I checked that box Sunday morning to start.
God,
it.
yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's even hard to picture that world.
One of my personal favorites up next year, I just love the name, Greg Dortch, rostered in 5% of leagues.
The human Dortch.
He had 47 receiving yards last week,
right.
though. They use him.
They took Harrison out of the game. He didn't hardly use it all.
Yeah.
Like, if he was a Steeler, you'd like him. He's a slot. He's tough. I mean, Moves the chains.
They play the Rams, Lions, and Washington in their next 3 games.
Ain't bad.
Yeah. So
it's a good offense.
Yeah.
Human torch.
Wan'Dale Robinson rostered in 10% of leagues.
He got 1 million targets.
He got 12 targets last week.
He's a better player than people realize, too. Like, I think he's a true slot machine, Welker type guy. And that fits what they do.
He just doesn't go for any yards at all.
Oh, he's going to have 50 yards on 10 targets every week. I mean, but if you need a bye week filler and if it's not PPR, don't even worry about him.
Tyler Johnson for the Rams rostered in 0%.
I bet.
We talked about that yesterday.
He has some traits.
He had like 79 yards or whatever it was. He got 68 of it on one catch.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I assume he's now going to be the 3.
Yeah.
And he'll play a lot, and he's got traits, but that might be the best game of his career.
Yeah, I think so.
I need to see another week or 2 of that.
Yeah. Alec Pierce rostered in 2% of leagues. No, thank you.
Yeah, a big play. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, I just can't get on board with that.
No, I think Mitchell will make him obsolete soon.
Somehow Jacoby Myers is only rostered in 48% of leagues.
Did he do much this past week? It was a very Bowers-centric passing game.
61 scoreless receiving yards, but 61 yards.
Yeah.
Like, he is not a bad football player. He should be in leagues.
It's sort of a side note, but we've brought him up for Steeler interest.
Yeah.
I feel like you could get him cheaper than ever right now. You know, if you're the Steelers or
they're going to use Bowers, they're going to use Adams.
Yeah.
He's kind of a
Mayer's on the field a ton.
Yeah.
But he's a solid player.
Josh Reynolds with the Broncos. We'll see him this week. He's rostered in 1% of leagues.
Now, Mims and
he's the other downfield guy.
Yeah. I mean, he's a long, angular type dude. Mims and Franklin they don't do anything.
No.
They don't see the field.
Yuck.
The guy, there's a third guy that I've never heard of. You mentioned his name yesterday.
Vele or something.
Something like that. Yeah.
Quarterback, Baker Mayfield, rostered in 34% of leagues.
That's good. I mean, he threw a bunch of touchdowns, and he looked good, and he's got good weapons.
They have Detroit this week, then they're Denver and Philadelphia at home.
Okay.
So,
I mean, I guess if you have Love and you need somebody to get by, I mean, it makes sense.
I wish he was available in our league.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't see a high ceiling, though. I mean, he's never going to be much of a runner.
Yeah. Justin Fields, rostered in 14% of leagues.
If you get word that I could understand putting in for him right now.
Yeah.
You know, especially in deeper leagues or the bottom of your roster's junk. And
you have Love and...
Yeah, right. I mean, because if he starts...
The potential is there for him to be a top 10 quarterback.
Yeah.
If he runs,
like he probably
10 or more times.
Will. Right.
More than likely, if he goes 10 or more times, he's going to have 50 or 60 or 70 yards.
His fantasy point production was very fluky for how he was used.
Yeah.
Flukily bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Derek Carr only rostered in 10% of leagues.
Side note, I bet the Steelers score a touchdown this week, too.
I think they do.
I know it'll have something to do with it.
Here's the problem with rostering Derek Carr right now.
Mm.
This week they're at Dallas.
That's not great with that line.
Yeah. Next week they're at Philadelphia. I don't think that's much different with that line.
Right.
And then they're at Atlanta. So,
yeah, that's not great. And maybe if you have them, dangle them for to the Love owner.
Geno Smith rostered in 32% of leagues.
He's kind of like Baker. I mean, he's good.
Yeah.
He's not going to run much.
Problem is, they have New England they're at New England this week.
What a spread in that game.
Not a great
cross country like that.
Not a great matchup. Then he gets Miami and Detroit. So Geno Smith probably a better option moving forward than what he is this week.
You could see garbage time against Miami and Detroit too.
Yeah. Sam Darnold rostered in 10% of leagues. Again, the problem is he plays San Francisco this week.
Okay. I don't know the upcoming schedule for these guys at all.
Then he gets Houston and Green Bay, so better days ahead, but not this week.
I'm not exactly sold that he's out of the woods and is a good player all of a sudden either.
But he did.
He had a good week.
He was 10 for, he was going to Justin Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know where my bread is buttered. I'm going to go that direction.
And they ran the ball a ton in the fourth quarter. I mean, he could have thrown more.
Yeah. Tight end, Isaiah Likely, rostered in 28% of leagues.
So how about this? I mean, he's like the only fantasy tight end that did well this week.
Yeah.
I mean, across the board. McBride was okay. Yeah. I mean, this is a bad fantasy tight end week. I do think he's unlike like every other
but
tight
it's
end,
be
too.
Up and down.
It's going to be up and down for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't think he'll leave the field much.
No, he's out there.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I considered drafting him. But I'm like, how much are they going to throw the ball? And is most of it going to go to Mark Andrews.
Like, I'm not using 20% of my fab
No.
because I drafted Pitts or Njoku or somebody that you weren't happy with, or Goddard or whoever, and think he's the answer. I don't know that I'd do that.
You might if you had Njoku because
he's
out for
That's
a while.
a bad example. I was thinking about like if you waited on tight end and you weren't thrilled with them when you took them, and then they had a down week as all tight ends did, I wouldn't look at likely like my problem solved.
Yeah. Tucker Kraft rostered in 2% of leagues.
He's well ahead of Musgrave.
Yeah, but
the
the next few weeks are going to be garbage.
I can't start their receivers this week.
No.
Who are much clearer than.
I think the only Packer you can start is Josh Jacobs, and then now you're hoping.
Yeah, and he's around 8-man boxes too.
Maybe 9. Colby Parkinson rostered in 6% of leagues. He's clearly the
slightly
starter
interesting.
there. Yeah,
The Kua injury helps him. No
yeah.
doubt. And he was kind of a sleeper to begin with.
He's with the Rams.
Yeah.
Tyler Conklin rostered in 20% of leagues.
Watching that game last night, I thought the Jets need somebody else to catch the ball or to give the ball to. Hall and Wilson are really, really good players, but Mike Williams is a shell of himself in terms of snap
He's on the
counts.
field for nine plays.
9 plays. So could it be Conklin?
Maybe.
Maybe. Going to play the Niners every week.
Yeah. Looking at this week's schedule, Thursday night we have Buffalo at Miami.
We talking about defenses here?
Yeah.
I think no.
Yeah. I do like that for Buffalo in the fact that that's an 8:15 game.
Mm-hmm.
Won't be quite as hot for them.
Right. Oh, it's in Miami?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's not great. But I think there's points in that game.
Yeah. The Raiders are at the Ravens.
I'm fine with the Ravens.
Yeah, but they're
probably in
owned.
a league.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I'm excited about the Raiders.
Chargers are at Carolina.
That's a good streamer.
Yeah, that's a good streamer of the Chargers. Saints.
Mack and Bosa were healthy and looking good.
Yeah.
I know we're hard on the Chargers, but give them credit with what they did.
Saints are at Dallas.
Dallas
Can't
are
start
in a
the
league.
Can't start the Dallas or Saints defense.
Yeah, I streamed them last week in a league, and that was nice, but I think you dump them now.
Buccaneers are at Lions. Well, your streaming week with the Buccaneers was last week.
Yeah, I do not want to.
Can't start them in that one.
It's in Detroit too, right?
Yeah.
No.
The Colts are at Green Bay.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a vanilla defense, but
That doesn't matter.
it's a vanilla quarterback.
There aren't many defenses I wouldn't take against Green Bay right now.
Yeah.
If it was Carolina, Green Bay, I'm not picking them up. But but there aren't many. If it was the Raiders or most defenses, I would grab them right now.
Cleveland is at Jacksonville.
I'm sticking with the Browns. I think it's our league I drafted, or the other one I drafted them in. But your quarterback throws pick sixes and stuff. It makes it hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the Jags D's usable.
And Cleveland's defense last year on the road was not good.
Right.
This is in Jacksonville, too.
Yeah.
It's a 1 o'clock
It's gonna
game
be hot.
Sunday. It's going to be hot.
Jags D, I'll take.
Yeah.
They're-
You'd have to start him after what you saw from Deshaun Watson.
Yeah. They could be on waiver wires.
49ers at Vikings. Well, you can't start the Vikings defense.
No. And I think you start the Niners.
Seahawks are at the Patriots.
Oh, Seahawks are a great pickup. I hate that it's a cross-country road trip
Yeah.
and all that stuff for a new coach and new staff, but they tied Nix and company in knots after a while, too, and he's a pretty good defensive mind.
Yeah. Jets are at the Titans. Jets are probably owned, so you're not streaming them.
But are you comfortable with them after last night? I think I still would be.
Against Levis, yeah.
Yeah, I think I still would be.
Yeah.
Tennessee's? Their D played pretty well.
Yeah, but that was against a bad
It was-
Chicago.
Caleb Williams
Offense.
and Aaron Rodgers are different beats.
A little bit, yeah, little difference in
Little-
experience
yeah.
there. The Giants are at the Commanders.
No and no.
No and no. I don't want either one of those, and you'd love to start a defense against either one of those
Right.
offenses.
I just think that's a no.
Rams at Cardinals.
No and no.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a bunch of points.
I feel like that in every Cardinal game. I'm going to be like no and no.
Steelers are at the Broncos. Steelers defense
are great.
probably owned. You're not going to start the Broncos defense.
I don't think.
Bengals are at the Chiefs. No, again for the Bengals, and yeah, you're going to start the Chiefs.
Fine with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
If you drafted them and you have an investment there, I'd probably stick with it. It's in Kansas City.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm fine with it. It's probably in the top 10 still.
yeah. The Bears are at the Texans. Fire up the Texans
Fire up
defense.
the Texans. No on the Bears.
Yeah,
Bears D played well. It's not a bad group, but
yeah, but
I don't
they're
love
in
that.
over their head a little bit this
Yeah, I
week.
don't love that.
And the Falcons are at the Eagles. That's
No,
the
I
Monday
don't
night
like that.
game.
I'm fine with the Eagles.
I'd start the Eagles. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Chief conversation. Like,
Yeah.
I could see Atlanta playing pretty well. I mean, and figuring things out.
Not if Cousins is still immobile.
That's a big problem. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the Eagles' D is usable.
Yeah.
Falcons is not.
No, absolutely. So
Not a lot. There's a couple targets, not a ton.
There's some good streamers there.
Yeah, there's not 3 or 4 that'll be on waiver wires.
Not quite the schedule of games, though, that we had opening week.
True. There was a couple low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Like Seattle's intriguing to me, but they're going all the way to New England, and they might lose that game.
Right.
17-16 or something,
Oh, did you see the Patriots getting off to a 2-0 start?
That is not a team I'm overreacting to and think that they're good all of a sudden.
So either the Browns or the Jaguars are going to start 0-2.
Yeah.
That's a tough hole for both of those
I haven't
franchises.
looked at any spreads, but I bet Jacksonville's favored.
I would think so.
I mean, I would pick them straight up right now at home.
Both of those franchises have shown over the years that when things start to go bad, they go bad.
They go bad. They don't exactly pull themselves up by the bootstraps.
Doesn't look good for Cincinnati going to Kansas City.
Right.
They could be 0-2.
Who do the Ravens have again?
They play
Tennessee, maybe?
They play the Raiders at home.
They're definitely favored there.
Yeah, they'll probably win that game.
Okay.
So if the Steelers can get off to that 2-0 start this week, they may be up 2 games on both Cincinnati and Cleveland.
Yeah, I think that's quite possible.
Yeah, so
not in a bad spot.
Absolutely. Let's get to a break. That's going to do it for the Fantasy Football Focus. See, we turned that into a little Steeler talk there as well.
Of course.
Absolutely. He is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with more right after this.
This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
Welcome back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And frequent listeners to the show know that we often reference DVOA.
Yeah.
Which is an Aaron Schatz thing. He does it now on FTN Fantasy, but it was always Football Outsiders. It was ESPN before that. They all reference the DVOA, which is a way of looking at a power ranking on a team in terms of how they've played and things of that nature, just kind of measuring it out by the analytics.
Yeah. And at this point, they don't account for opponent.
Right.
But I forget what week they start accounting for opponent because they feel like they have a better grasp of who's even playing.
So right now, the Steelers, 13th in DVOA after week 1.
Okay.
They're a positive, plus 3.1%. Being on the positive side of that is where you want to be. The New Orleans Saints, after week 1, lead the NFL at 100.8.
Which is like an unheard of number.
That's a ridiculous number.
And they stomped the Panthers, and it was over by the first quarter. They could have run the score up even more. I mean, I don't know if they're good or not, but they played their best game against a terrible opponent.
Yeah. So the Vikings are actually second at 72.8. Dallas is third at 72.4.
It's a pretty impressive showing by the Cowboys.
Seattle, which of course played Denver last week, they're at 71.3.
They didn't blow anyone's doors off, though.
According to this, they did.
Yeah.
San Francisco at 48.1, Tampa Bay 33.8, the Chargers at 28.4, New England at 24.0, Houston at 21.0, Buffalo at 19.3, Kansas City at 18.5, and Detroit at 12 at 10.8.
Aaron would be the first to tell you. I mean, this is small sample size. This isn't predictive that they're going to keep these numbers going. It's one performance, and all this information gets cut by 50% in a few days from now.
Yeah.
I mean? So it's an interesting conversation of who played well and who didn't, but it doesn't mean that these teams are going to dominate the league. You know what I mean?
The interesting thing to me, Matt, is I just shifted through the defensive DVOA here.
Okay.
And by all accounts, the Steelers had a good defensive game. They gave up 10 points to the Atlanta Falcons. They forced 3 turnovers, 51 yards of offense they allowed in the second half of that game, 2 of 9 on third down conversions. Defensively, they came out of week 1 10th.
10th. I thought they were one of the best defenses in the league, just eyeball test.
Interestingly enough, the team that is 9th in defensive DVOA is Atlanta.
Wow. That's strange to me. I didn't think their defense was horrible.
It wasn't horrible, no,
well.
but...
So a couple notes here is EPA and DVOA are almost the same type of thing.
Yeah.
You know, and I was looking at EPA this morning, not DVOA. It's first I've heard these. And EPA, the Steelers' defense on first and second down, early down EPA was phenomenal, like the best in the league, which adds up. And I didn't think they were bad on third down. You know, I mean,
yeah.
And they also created big
Yeah,
plays.
on third down, they give up 2 for 9 on conversion.
Yeah, right.
We'll take that every week.
I think most of our listeners knew that they were quite, stifling on third down, and they created big plays. Big plays is a big thing I know for DVOA, taking the ball away, sacks, creative negative.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what they did wrong.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. And the fact that Atlanta was ranked ahead of them when they forced no turnovers.
I mean, they held the Steelers to 3.3 yards rushing, which isn't great.
Yeah.
I mean, for the Steelers, that's good work by Atlanta.
But some of that was like you take the 10-yard end around the Pickens out of the equation, which was the most ridiculous. Not only was it not a great call in that situation,
it's hard to lose 10 yards on a running play.
He then ran backwards a lot.
Right. That's a very strange play.
I would throw that one. I'd take that one and just tear it up and throw it out of the playbook.
I know, yeah, because how I dig into the stats and stuff, and you've cited this a few times. I forget what the number is, but I think it was week 8 on last year. The Steelers averaged 156 yards or something like that.
145.2.
Okay.
Yeah.
I knew you knew it.
They'd have been over that number
if it wasn't
with
the Pickens thing. That's what I was going to say.
Pickens run.
They would keep that trend alive. Now they were just a little below it, but it was a very odd play. It's hard to lose 10 yards on a rushing play.
If I'm going to run that end around, I'm not using George Pickens.
Agreed.
Because he's the guy who's getting all the attention from the opposing defense.
They're all eyeing him anyways.
Yeah.
I mean, Terrell might be following him to begin with.
Where's he going to be at? We got to know where that guy's at all the time.
Yeah. So for people who don't know, if you go to practice tomorrow, or if you went to practice last Thursday, there's somebody with a Drake London, a Bijan Robinson, and a Kyle Pitts jersey on. Not the other guys. I mean, it's not every skill guy. You got to know where that dude is.
Yeah.
Well, everyone's going to have a Pickens jersey on during their prep week. Trust me.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And so running that end around with him, probably not the best idea in that situation.
So, look, I pulled up the EPA stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They have the Steeler D basically 5th. It's behind the Saints and Vikes, both of whom were pretty dominant, and right there was Seattle and Dallas. I think that's pretty accurate.
In terms of total DVOA, defensive DVOA, and again, this is relevant because the Steelers play Denver this week.
Mm-hmm.
Seattle, number 1 in the league, at minus 56.2.
Because of who they played,
Because of who they played and what they gave up in that game.
Right.
Denver's offense did nothing in that game.
I mean, needless to say, that's going to be the same score as Denver's offense. The opposite. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're going to be in the bottom left corner too,
But the only defenses, there were 3 defenses over 50 points this week. Seattle, New Orleans at minus 55.6, and minus being good on defense.
Minus is good on defense, yeah.
Dallas at minus 53.6, and Minnesota at minus 50.2.
That's I don't really have much discrepancy with that. I mean, they were big-time performances. Offense was down. I don't know if you heard this, but this was the lowest, and it dawned on me when we talked about fantasy yesterday, because there's so few quarterbacks that were over 300. It was the lowest number of passing yards in the NFL since like 2010 in week 1. I mean, offense was rough.
It was very difficult.
Very difficult.
And a lot of quarterbacks didn't play in the preseason, and it showed.
Yeah, and the Burrows and Cousins and those guys, the guys that played well were like Mayfield and Carr and some of the like middle-of-the-road dudes, and then all the rookies were terrible.
Yeah. There were some really bad performances.
There was.
Including from
Knicks. 100%. And the whole offense as a whole was pretty bad.
Pretty bad.
Yeah.
Looking at Denver, where they rank
I'm trying to find them here on EPA. They are.
They came in at 28 in total DVOA at minus 54.7. Minus 50. I'm sorry, minus 56.9. I was looking at their adjusted DVOA. 56.9.
It was a miserable performance.
In terms of the teams that were worse than them last week, Carolina dead last. Cleveland at 31.
Okay.
The Giants at 30. The Commanders at 29.
Okay, looking at this one, the only offenses that were worse were the Giants and Panthers. And they were right there with like the Raiders. And they were slightly above average defensively. the Broncos.
Yeah.
Basically right on the line. But the defense is better than the offense.
Well,
do we
looking
think
here
the
in
defense
terms
is
of
better than the offense?
in terms of DVOA, for offensive DVOA, the only offenses worse were that of Carolina and Cleveland.
Okay. Carolina is the worst in every
Sick. Well, no, Cleveland was worse
offensively.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
according to
they're
DVOA.
pretty bad here too. They're
Yeah.
right there with. They're actually right next to them. So
In terms of defensive DVOA, Denver was plus 25.9. Again, plus not where you want to be.
you don't want to
at.
be plus, right?
That is 29th in the league. The only place that Denver did well in was on special teams. They were second.
Okay. Steelers had to be high.
Steelers were fifth.
Okay, I'm saying 6 for 6 goes a long way.
Yeah. And probably would have been higher. They had a couple of penalties on returns.
Mm-hmm.
Austin had,
good return.
Calvin Austin had a couple good punt returns that got nullified.
Yeah, I think people harp on the negative on special teams. I think they're crazy.
Yeah, they were pretty good.
Right. Heard this little nugget just talking about these two defenses. The Steelers blitzed less than any team in the league this week.
Which is crazy.
I mean, they were like at 7%.
Yeah.
Broncos blitzed the most because they don't have pass rush.
They have to generate it somehow.
That's something that I'm going to harp on all week. I mean, it says a lot about both these defenses, where they're at. If you can
get there with 4
against a really good line,
yeah.
And Seattle's line stinks. They weren't getting their home with 4 against one of the worst lines in the league.
And Denver's line's not great.
Right, exactly. That too. Yeah. I'm thinking about from a Denver defense perspective, week 1, you shouldn't have to blitz against Seattle that much to get pressure, and you were number 1 in the whole league.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
I don't know if do you want to blitz Justin Fields?
I don't know what his traditional numbers are, but he can certainly make you pay.
Yeah. I mean, you miss him.
The other thing, too, is you're rolling him out so much, too.
Yeah. That's the other thing.
If you're blitzing from the wrong side and you're chasing him when he's rolling right, and
you're not going to catch him.
Side. Right. At least Denver now has tape to go off of the Fields.
But I don't know if it's going to look like that, though.
I don't think it's going to be a drop-back
like
passing game. I think they'll keep – if Fields is a starter, I think he'll be on the move a lot.
Yeah, I'm just looking here at his blitz numbers. And maybe his – they don't have his blitz numbers here. I thought they did on –
I know he's taken a lot of sacks in his career.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of them are versus blitz.
But, I thought he got rid of the ball pretty quickly. I didn't think he held the ball.
His time to throw was high.
Was it high?
It was. It was over. He was highest in the league last year at like 3.06, and it was slightly over that. But you're going to also hold it more if you're on the run.
Yeah, there's some of that. So I'm looking here.
Some of that was sort of by design.
It was.
If you play that way, there's no way you're going to be at 2.3.
He was 11 for 15 when he held the ball 2.5 seconds or longer. When he got rid of it, he was 11 for 15 when he got rid of it.
That's more
in under 2.5 seconds.
Because when he's on rhythm and on time, he's good.
It was only for 45 yards, though.
Mm-hmm.
When he held the ball 2.5 seconds or longer, he was 6 of 8 for 111 yards. Well, the 40-yarder down at the end of the first half was one of those because he rolled to his left.
So he got rid of it in 2.5 more often than he held it 2.5 attempts.
Yeah.
So assuming my numbers are right, I got them from NFL.com. There must have been several snaps that were like 5 seconds. To make it well over 3.
Yeah, I was
shocked when I read it too.
Yeah, I didn't see him holding the ball a lot back there.
This was from the NFL.com. Their next gen stuff now is stepped up quite a bit. So this was straight from the NFL, but I didn't think that either.
As Tomlin said about that, because I think Chris Carter asked him today about the NFL Next Gen Stats had you guys running more RPOs or second most RPOs last week, and Tomlin's like, we didn't run that many RPOs. Just because they think it's an RPO because the quarterback carries out a fake doesn't mean that's an RPO.
It's funny. I don't even click on that column because I don't think anybody knows.
They really don't.
You really don't.
It's kind of like play action in some instances where the quarterback's in the shotgun and runs an RPO. Isn't that play action?
Right. Exactly. So no, Chris might be dead on. I bet that column exists and it has them that way, but that's not one of the columns I would ever look at.
I'm looking here at Pro Football Reference. They had 2 RPOs for the Steelers where he threw the ball off an RPO.
The only times he could run
it too, but
yeah, that's a really broad term.
It really is.
I mean, a lot of times you'll see one half a line pass block and one half a line run block. That's kind of a dead giveaway.
But I trust Tomlin and know how many times they ran RPO.
Yeah, I mean, and some of it's just, again, I don't click on that column because I don't trust the stat people on those.
Yeah.
You know, whoever's gathering them, I don't know that they have 100% feel for that.
But some of the numbers here on Fields, not bad. You know, the number that really stands out here, to me, is when they were in no huddle. He was only 2 for 6.
Okay.
For 4 yards, or
is that all Pro Football Reference stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That they would know.
Yeah, they would, that's an easy one.
Play action, he was 6 of 8, but for only 28 yards.
Okay. I think play action people basically know too.
Yeah. Non-play action, 11 for 15
right.
for 128 yards. They just didn't push the ball down the field.
No, I say that so much of that to me stemmed from just when they knew they had Atlanta's offense where they wanted them.
Yeah.
Then it was
just
kind of the Pickett version of don't throw picks. We're going to win this game. And in a way, whenever they didn't get it on 4th and 1, gave them a little bit of life. I mean, that was the first time I got nervous late in the game because they started moving the ball a little bit.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah.
See how it works this week. Get a better grasp of where they feel like Justin Fields is at. Mm-hmm. Again, if they build the entire game plan around him.
Yeah, I'm curious how that'd be hard as a coaching staff. You know, because you said installs tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, of course. And they know who Fields is and they know who Wilson is, and there is some overlap in skill set. But you're preparing for one or the other with the idea of Fields will probably be the one on Wednesday, but what if Russ feels great Thursday? I mean,
right.
Coaching jobs are tough.
It's not easy.
They got to go back to the drawing board a lot.
Spend a lot of hours.
Right. You broke down all the tape.
And then stuff. You know.
Yeah. I mean, you built this game plan on Tuesday or Monday, Tuesday for Denver, and you might have to throw a large portion of it away, even if it's good.
Right.
I mean, it's just the way coaching is.
It's the way it is.
Yeah.
He is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I are going to take a break. We'll be back to finish up the show right after this. And we are back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, the NFL has changed some of its rules this year. The Pro Football Hall of Fame has, I should say, in its seniors category.
Okay.
So they just released the name of 183 nominees.
Gotcha.
For the senior committee to take a look at.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the old rules were 1 a year?
Yeah.
There was that weird COVID year where they put in 10 or whatever, but okay.
So they're taking a longer look at some of these guys now. So 183 nominees. They're going to pare that down to a list of 50 players, including ties, over the next few weeks here. There are some Steeler players in this group here, including running back Byron Whizzer-White.
Yeah.
That's going way back.
Yeah, then they deserve our time and effort too, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Of course, Elsie Greenwood.
That was one I was thinking at the tip of my tongue of who would be Steelers that fit this mold. Elsie's, I think, probably the best one available.
And safety Mike Wagner.
Okay. I mean, instrumental part of one of the best defenses ever and very big contributor for 4 rings. I would lean towards LC over Wags, though.
Yeah. Place kicker Norm Johnson also.
Okay.
On the list.
He had a good career in Seattle, too.
Yeah. To qualify as a senior committee guy, you had to have played at least 25 full seasons ago for nomination. So you had to be done by 1999.
It was your last season.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you also had to have won some kind of postseason honor or award.
How so?
You had to be a Pro Bowl or
okay.
Like
I thought you meant like you had to win a playoff game or
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that makes sense. Okay, some sort of something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Had to be recognized as something. I'm kind of surprised.
So is that how they came up with 183?
Yeah.
These are all the guys that aren't in the Hall of Fame that have been to a Pro Bowl that played before the year 2000. Well, it's a lot of names. I mean, it should be a pretty easy one to pair.
183, yeah.
With all respect to Norm Johnson, he's got no chance.
No.
You know what I mean?
No. I don't know who nominated these guys, but I look at guys like I'm just trying to think of guys who aren't in the Hall of Fame.
Like a Ken Anderson.
He's on the list. Yeah, I'm talking about Steelers that could have made this list. What about a guy like? I'm just going down through the list here of their Hall of Honor guys. Andy Russell.
Yeah, I'd like his case better than Wagner's.
Yeah, I mean, multi-time Pro Bowl guy. He was the captain of the defense the first couple of Super Bowls. I mean, how does he not get any?
I mean, he was one of the few good carryovers when Chuck Noll got hired.
Yeah,
like we're going to keep that guy.
Yeah,
everyone else can go.
I mean, to me, not nothing against Mike Wagner. Or
no,
anybody
of course, but
I can't believe he wasn't on that list.
Yeah, that's interesting.
If you're going to have 183 players on that list,
I mean, it doesn't mean he's going to end up in the Hall of Fame or should, but he should be.
He should at least get a nomination.
He should be in that conversation. Yeah. No, I'm with you on that.
Taking a look here at some of the news and notes from around the league, Lamar Jackson, as it turns out, was sore on Monday.
Let me guess, he was sick. That guy gets sick more than anybody.
Yeah, he does get sick a lot, but no, he had some general soreness.
He got hit a lot.
To Mike Garoppolo, and so he's expected to practice on Wednesday.
Some horrendous protection.
Yeah,
he took a beating. I mean, that's not a sustainable formula, and if I'm Harbaugh and the owner, we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah, don't let that happen anymore.
Right.
Josh Allen with the Bills was a full participant in Tuesday's walkthrough practice.
Okay.
He's dealing with that left hand. He did have a glove on that left hand.
At least it's the left, but if he takes another hit.
You don't like it.
No, but it's a division game, and he's got 10 days arrested after, so there you have it. I'm sure he'll play.
Mitchell Trubisky, a full participant for them today. Tyler Johnson, a running back, was limited. Tight end Quentin Morris was a full participant with a shoulder injury, and Teron Johnson, their very good nickel cornerback, did not practice.
Yeah, it doesn't sound good for Johnson. That was the one I heard. He's really important to those guys.
Yeah.
And with their linebacker and safety change, he was one of the few stabilizing factors in their back seven. Carryover, guys that you can kind of count on. He's an important player for them.
We mentioned earlier in the show the Carolina Panthers placed defensive tackle Derek Brown on season-ending injured reserve.
One of the more underrated players in the league.
Yeah,
he's a quality
their
dude.
Best player.
Yeah.
And they don't have him now.
They're a miserable team right now.
They are signing defensive end Charles Harris.
Oh, okay.
Former first round.
Yeah.
Hasn't done a ton.
No.
The Browns have made it official with Kadarius Toney.
That's what they need.
On their practice squad.
Yeah,
but,
I know.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, talk about a volatile, tease type of guy. I don't know.
The Lions signed place kicker Greg Joseph to their practice squad.
Maybe their guy pulled something or whatever.
He looked fine the other night.
Yeah, he seemed okay.
Yeah. LaMichael Pirine cut by the Green Bay Packers.
I didn't realize I picked him up.
So, yep. Houston, well, that was practice squad signing. Julius Brents for the Colts.
Corner.
Placed on injured reserve.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Their corners are probably the weakest part of the team.
Yeah, he was the guy they drafted the highest last year.
Yeah, second rounder.
And played a lot for them and started.
We talked about him quite a bit. I mean, some of the people listening might remember. He's
guy,
like the 6'3", ended up in the second round. They were counting on him to be an integral part of that defense.
Yeah, so
and good for that cover 3 system they have.
Big loss for them.
That is a big loss. So that's 4+ weeks. Or was that a season ender? Didn't they say?
Just says placed on injured reserve.
Okay.
I don't know if they designated
anything
just yet. The Rams have all kinds of offensive line problems. They signed 2 offensive tackles today, Jerron Christian and Ty Nishke.
Ty Nishke's been around.
Yeah.
I mean, he was always a decent swing guy, 6 guy. I don't know why he's not signed, but
they might need him to start.
No, so he might be playing right now. That poor dude from Michigan State.
Oh,
man.
Looking at the Dolphins' side of that Thursday night game, Devin Achan listed as a non-participant in Tuesday's walkthrough. Raheem Mostert did not participate. Achan has an ankle. Mostert is a chest. Ankle's not good for Achan.
No, not at all. And walkthroughs, not that demanding.
No.
I mean,
yeah.
But I also think you have to be out
probably
there.
Probably not going to play.
I would think not.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's a tough one.
Wide receiver Malik Washington with a quadricep did not practice.
Okay.
Linebacker Jalen Phillips with an Achilles was limited, as was cornerback Jalen Ramsey with a hamstring.
Okay. Phillips played really well in the game. I think that's just precautionary on those two. They're valuable guys.
The Minnesota Vikings signed defensive tackle Harrison Phillips to a 2-year contract extension worth $19 million.
I mean, he's more of a run stuffer, big-bodied guy. He's 6'6"-ish.
$13 million guaranteed for him. That Cam Hayward deal looks better and better every day.
It seems like a lot of money for what should be a rotational player that doesn't affect the passing game all that much,
The 49ers, they're saying that Christian McCaffrey with that calf Achilles injury, the Achilles is the new part of that.
Because calf was last year.
Yeah. He is considered day-to-day. They got Juwan Jennings injured in that game last night with an ankle injury, and guard Aaron Banks with a bruised calf, also day-to-day.
Okay. I get the impression McCaffrey might be another week.
Could be.
Yeah.
They're especially when the backup comes in and plays well.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, okay, we can slow play this with McCaffrey a little bit.
So I think people know that I host a podcast with Brian Peacock, who's a Niners guy. And I guess Niners people hate when he says this, but he's like, if I had to rank who I don't want in my lineup for the Niners, McCaffrey's like 7 or 8. Like Purdy, both receivers, Kittle, Williams, Warner, Bosa, because they're still really good without him. I mean, they're great with them.
Yeah,
but they're really. But
and here's the thing: I know a lot of people are gonna. I guarantee you, a lot of the people who are on that train that you never draft a running back in the first round, don't pay running backs, looked at that game last night and said, "See, anybody, you can get a running back anywhere."
Right. Not true.
If the 49ers believed that, they wouldn't be paying Christian McCaffrey what they're paying him.
And if you look at Shanahan's career, they've missed on so many draftable running backs. They've traded up for guys, and
they've drafted a bunch of them.
In like rounds 3, 4, trading up for them. And Mason's not a nobody, by the way.
Right, yeah.
I went back and really looked at his background. He was a heavily recruited guy, and then Georgia Tech got the greatest recruit in Georgia Tech history, Jahmyr Gibbs, who then put Mason on the bench. Gibbs goes to Bama. Mason has a nice job, but he kind of got lost in the wash behind a really good player. And now he's in a good situation. Like, he had a good preseason. Like, he's clearly there, too. He's good.
Yeah.
I mean, he makes any team probably start. I mean, Dallas would kill for him right now.
No, absolutely.
I mean he's a good player.
But you don't just find those guys anywhere. Because everybody always points to the 49ers. Well, the 49ers, they just plug anybody in there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's why that's not why they traded for Christian McCaffrey.
No, right. I mean, there's special traits there. And frankly, Rob and I on Friday had a conversation about Bijan. Like, okay, maybe you're not into drafting a running back in round 1. I get it. But I'll take him.
He's pretty good.
I'll take that guy.
Saquon Barkley was pretty good the other day.
Yeah.
I
mean, if you're a difference maker, it's different.
The special talents are the special talents, and there's a difference between taking those guys in the top 10 and taking one in the bottom third of the first round.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you're a playoff team and that's like your biggest need. Like if the Chiefs were to do it or something like that. I get it.
If you don't have somebody, which the Steelers didn't have when they took Najee Harris, which is why I mentioned this.
Yeah.
You don't have a guy, you better get one.
Even the Jets last night. I know Breece Hall wasn't a 1, but he was an early 2. Where would they be without him?
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be trouble. I mean,
big time.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
So just throwing that out there.
There's 2 sides to it, yeah. A lot of it's just the money thing.
Yeah.
Tackles are harder to find than running backs. Everyone in the world knows that, but I'll take Bijan Robinson for a first-round pick all day long.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he changes the game.
He sure does. And was really good against the Steelers in that game the other day, but not good enough.
Yeah, really impressive, but he wasn't super productive for as good as he looked on tape. Yeah. And, the Steelers did a nice job against him.
They really did. And this week they get Javonte Williams, who was the second back.
Mm-hmm.
No, third back taken. No.
Harris, ATN, Williams.
Yeah. So he was the third back taken in that 2021 draft now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It could be his last year in Denver, too.
Yeah, so we'll see. But he did not look all that impressive in
week
1.
I don't know that he's going to. That injury he had was pretty bad. And I was kind of targeting him in fantasy, and then after week 1, I'm like, I don't think that's the same.
Maybe it's just their offense
isn't great.
Not great.
That's very true.
Yeah, so we'll see. Steelers at Broncos on Sunday. That's the week 2 matchup for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But for my partner, Matt Williamson, for Brian LaMartina here on site, keeping us on the air. That's going to do it for our show today. I am Dale Lolley. We thank you for listening to this edition of The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network.
Steelers football happens here. The Pittsburgh Steelers Audio Network.